with me I've got Lance Evans, who is the CEO of Evans International Freight Consolidators here in Brisbane. Thank you for having us here at your office and your home. Lance, when did the business start here in Australia and how's that going?
It's been an interesting journey. It started in 2009 here in Australia.
What do you do exactly and who are your customers?
Our customers are Australian freight forwarders and customs brokers. Our particular demographic would be brown-haired, brown-eyed, in their 50s with 20 to 50 staff. That would be our typical customer demographic. Trading across the nation where we operate over all states.
Yeah. Now, Lance, it's fair to say that the last 2 years have been a bit of a challenge with the pandemic. What is the new normal nowadays for you?
Yes, I don't think we're ever going back to the old normal. I think the new normal is the atrocious conditions we currently operate in. And I say atrocious, I mean ships not turning up on time, redoing documentation 3 to 4 times for almost every vessel, cut-offs being brought forward last minute when the freight's not in, just making it almost impossible for your customers to be able to get the cargo to the depot, to get packed in the container on time. It's just, that's a mess.
And how has that impacted you as a business and what has changed for the last 2 years?
Look, I think we realised right at the beginning that it was going to get bad. Our business has actually doubled in volumes since then, which is a good thing. But when you double your business and you handle every job 3 or 4 times more, you've effectively gone 6 or 8 times larger. There's no staff pool. The finances aren't there to multiply your staff by 6 either. And so it's been very, very hard. The whole industry has suffered very badly on mental health with our staff. It's a key driver for us in our business.
And how have you overcome those challenges and just how different are you now because of it?
We always were a fairly relaxed environment simply because we're at the end of the food chain. So you've heard the saying, you kick the cat. We're the end of the food chain, we're the consolidator that actually packs the cargo in the export containers. And so there's no one else to complain to or to get some resolve from other than us. As a result, you've got to try and let that tension away somehow, so that when you answer the phone, you answer it with a smile on your face, regardless of how the fact that you've got 6 or 7 balls in the air at that particular moment.
Now, times are very competitive and challenging. What sets you apart and what is it that makes you so unique compared to your competitors?
Because of our niche as a wholesale consolidator, both export and import, but primarily, and we started out as export only, we have that niche in that we are focused on being an LCL export consolidator and only to freight forwarders. So we don't need a marketing force to out visit exporters and importers. We know who the freight forwarders are. You can look in the yellow pages and establish that pretty quickly in every state. So it's a relatively small and concise market. There's really only another 5 of companies that do the same as us in the trade. Most of those are multinational companies. And I guess the bigger you become and the more customers you have in more diverse areas of operation, the less specific you become and the less customer focused you become. As a result of that, we developed a thing called the Evans Financial Guarantee. So if you don't get your booking from my team within 15 minutes of requesting it, if you don't get your documents before the ship sails, if your invoice is not out before the ship sails, if your cargo's not transshipped at a transshipment point within 7 days, you don't pay your freight. That's our guarantee. So that's a service guarantee without using the hackneyed word service all the time.
Yeah.
Simply putting your money where your mouth is.
That's right. Now the cost of everything has gone up tremendously over the last 2 years. Container load costing $100 up to $1,400 nowadays. How do you stay on top of that as well?
There's two areas. We have 4 divisions in the company, 4 operating and profit centres, and one of those is actually our finance team. And as a result of freight rates going from say $100 to $1,400, your demand on working capital has become rather key as well. And we pay a lot of our, or most of our expenses in an overseas currency. So managing that exchange risk, buying forward, etc., has become its own little profit centre. And it's a challenging business. It's a challenging business. You roll with the punches every day.
Yeah. Now we all know the challenges of the shipping lines that they've had to occur over the last 2 years, but what's the communication been like with them for you over the last 2 years because of those hiccups and delays and empty containers?
I think the shipping lines have got to, the local agencies of the shipping lines have got to the point where they really aren't in control of what's going on either. And it's very easy to yell and shout. And there's people on the end of the phone that you're talking to. Relationships are very important in this industry. And unfortunately you can't take your fortunately you should not take your frustration out on another service provider. And sometimes you feel as though that's your last leg to stand on. But in the end of the day, people can only do what people can do, and with the resources they're given. So I think the shipping lines have had a bad rep. They're all making an incredible amount of money, so we hear. That's an interesting point. Another good question for another day. But as far as the agencies that we deal with here in Australia, I think they do their best given the circumstances. There's so many moving parts in this industry, and every single stakeholder has a different requirement to make their perfect world come back into place. And none of those align, unfortunately.
Will we ever have that perfect world back?
I personally don't believe so, no. What we have today is what we have to build from.
And how do you see the business for the next 5 years? How will it further evolve and change?
I don't see that there's... they always say that the best time to start a business is in the hardest time. I really don't see this being the type of marketplace to come in and enter for new competitors to enter. But I believe the ones that are here and that have put their customers first and somehow managed to survive providing a service when our providers don't provide a service to us. We will survive. Business we will grow stronger. People will come to realise that there's strength in that experience.
And what made you decide in 2009 to actually enter this game here in Australia? But you did have some prior experience within the field in New Zealand.
In New Zealand, yeah. Interesting. I thought I would move to Australia and see the balance of my working life, working for a big company over here that I'd been offered a role in after I effectively retired from the industry in 2004. And it dragged me back in. It's an industry you can't escape. You can't escape. And as a result of making that decision, we thought that it would be the opportunity to do something niche, something different, experiment with modus operandi, with the way you treat your staff, with the way the business is configured physically and mentally. And it was a bit of a game, well, it still is. An exciting experiment. But we have a place in the market, a senior place in the market now, and I think we take that responsibility pretty carefully. So I guess we've adapted and moved forward from our original idea of just seeing if something could be done. For example, why on earth would anybody come into a market like this? Australia's a fairly buoyant market. Coming from a New Zealand perspective, it's 5 or 6 times the size. But why would you come into the market when the 4 biggest competitors in the world have been here for 20 odd years and rule the roost? So that's been an interesting journey.
And with that being said, you did sell half of your company some 3 years ago.
I did.
Could you please explain?
When you're moving cargo to destinations other than, for example, New Zealand or the Pacific Islands, inevitably there's never enough cargo in one place at one point to go to a myriad of different destinations. There are a number, obviously. And Singapore has always been the largest transshipment point in the world. And the very first consolidator to ever operate in Singapore was my agent. And they've always had a niche for Australia and New Zealand, for Australia specifically. And they expressed the need to have their own name in Australia. And I'd known the company for 30 odd years, and it was a no-brainer really. I'm proud to call the McNells Group my partners.
Okay. But half a business is quite a big chunk to sell off.
Well, when they initially asked, they didn't ask for 51% or a majority stake. They asked for a partnership. They asked for 50%. So I think I realised at that stage they weren't looking to control anything. They were simply looking to participate and to help grow something.
Yeah. And how have you, since then, since those 3 years ago, grown?
We're able to use their tracking system, which is something that, as an Australian freight forwarder, you can't really create yourself. The financial constraints and data constraints, really. So, working with the McNells Group, we have that hub and spoke technology of all their consolidations going to, I think every week they do 60 or 70 different destinations, export from Singapore every week. So we can send one container from Sydney, one from Adelaide, one from Perth, whatever the numbers are, and get cargo to literally anywhere in the world inside our own system and under our control and data source.
Yep. And what other data services do you currently utilise within the company to make your job easier?
We made a decision early on to follow the industry leader as far as industry software is concerned, because I'd had several experiences of in-house software suites before, and in the end of the day the world is changing so fast, and that desire for data, for big data, for integration, singular platforms, that type of thing, I think I realised quite early on that it was going to be an endless fight. So we decided to go with the main software provider here in Australia, and effectively, I guess, like 70 or 80% of the industry that uses the same software, we rise and fall on their growth and development of the platform.
Yeah, lovely. Just lastly, Lance, would you recommend this industry to any newcomers? Is it an industry worthwhile getting into?
We took on 3 trainees under the government trainee scheme a year and a half ago. We've got 1 left. 2 couldn't accept the industry, couldn't understand the hype, the speed, the time requirement.
Yeah.
1 has survived and is thriving, and I think we need to do that again, because it's very hard to find talent or experience, especially in our niche, because we're a niche of a niche of a niche in effect.
That's it, yeah.
We're the shipping line for less than container load freight. So it's very hard finding experienced people in the market, so I think it's our responsibility to train new people.
Yeah.
What would I say to them? It's not going to be easy, but then any career that's worthwhile isn't. But there's not much that has this type of multifaceted international communication changes. You can come to work any day and the ground rules have almost changed.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's it. And you guys operate 24/7.
We have to. There's no way we
Yeah.
can. There's no way we can keep up with what we're doing if we don't. New Zealand starts at 6 in the morning. USA starts at midnight. Europe starts at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Asia doesn't finish till 10 o'clock at night.
You seem so relaxed. How do you find that work-life balance, and how do you stay on top of it?
Good point. I'm certainly no young spring chicken any longer. I guess most of my time now is in mentoring my team and and finding, helping them to find their feet to manage the business as if it was their own. Because that's the future. It can't be based around me. It has to be based upon multiplying my skills and then adding their own flavour to it.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Lance, for
You're
having
welcome.
us here at your very own offices. It's been such a pleasure to meet you in person.
And you.
I've been working for Evans International now for the last 10 months. Over the last 10 months working at Evans, I've noticed a lot of challenges and changes in the industry, especially in shipping with the containers of, space with the shipping lines, changes of vessels, delays in different terminals around the world, especially with New Zealand on certain services. Challenges of delays, it has a roll-on effect where shipments may be, not moved, containers are delayed. Then what we find, especially for our LCL consolidation, containers, when they become delayed, then another vessel, they'll push back into more than one vessel. So then you're not having that weekly service that we, were so proud to be able to offer to our customers for many years. That's unfortunately no longer happening because of just the delays going on around the world. We've just have to be creative, so understanding how the shipping lines work more, when bookings become available, being able to, make those bookings and especially, allocate the bookings to the right consoles and then also for our customers. We're all at the mercy of shipping lines is a problem, so I find, keeping customers informed of changes that are happening and delays then allows them to let their customers know. Unfortunately, we can't change, the shipping lines, so it's just more about working smarter and really communicating with our customers so then they can let, especially the shippers, let their end customers know that, hey, this one's now not going to arrive on time, and just being able to be creative.